everyone. This is going to be an amazing event where we all get to take this much needed time and really understand how we can look after ourselves. And that all starts from within. And we are here with Activia. So I am actually halfway through my gut health challenge. If you have been following me online, and I am feeling fantastic. That is why we're here today. We're here to spread this important message. And of course, we're here to celebrate Eve.
Iskra, I wrote Fair Play for you, right? I call myself the ghost of Christmas future. It is, Fair Play is a love letter to women. You're not alone. We have a burnout problem. 9 years ago, I was collapsed on the side of the road, sobbing over the fact that my husband Seth sent me a text that said, "I'm surprised you didn't get blueberries." I was the fulfiller of his smoothie needs, with a breast pump and a diaper bag on the passenger seat of my car, gifts for a newborn baby to return in the back seat of my car, a client contract on my lap. That's ultimately the day where I burnt out.
Right.
Where I collapsed and said, my marriage is going to end in a cliched way over being the fulfiller of my husband's smoothie needs. He should have just gone to Activia for that. But more importantly, I was thinking to myself, I do not have the career marriage combo I thought I was going to have. I am burning out and drowning in being the default parent. I call in Fair Play the she-fault parent, even though this does apply to LGBTQIA families. I realized that I could not handle it alone. I had to involve my partner in my greater community. That was before the pandemic. Since the pandemic, we now have 153% increase in the invisible load for women. But the beauty of this is we can actually move forward together.
You've really touched on kind of the first question I had for you is, where does that burnout come from? We are so just moving forward in our day-to-day stuff that we don't even realize how overwhelming that can become. And it just layers on top, layers on top. You want to prioritize everything, but that's also really, really hard. One thing that was really, really making me feel super burnt out was having a unproductive work day where I felt like I'd sacrificed the time with my baby. There was, the guilt and the shame. And then on top of maybe not getting everything I needed done, and then thinking, well, why did I even bother? Or should I have done it? And that noise can be very overwhelming. And then you just go into that place of wanting quiet. But sometimes those are the times where you do have to speak up and say, I need help. If your partner doesn't know what you're going through and you're not able to communicate that, then you just have this super weird energy.
What Iskra was saying is so important, because I'll just give you a quick story of this couple having a giant fight over coffee. Every morning, this woman's husband would make her drip coffee. She would leave the house to go get down the street her $10 double vanilla shot with oat milk. And then every day that drip coffee would go stale and cold. What was happening there was they were getting stuck in this round robin of fighting over coffee. So once this woman took that exercise and said, connection is a value of mine. The only connection I'm really getting now is to my barista with my gloves and a mask. It is my escape. Then $10 doesn't look like as much in their budget conversation, because that $10 a day, while extremely expensive, was an investment in her mental health. That's how we want people to start thinking during burnout. What are your core values? Existentially, we've been forced as women to focus on milestones, as Iskra said, Pinterest perfect parenting. Yay, that those babies come out, and then guess what happens? We become invisible. Those milestones need to be reimagined. And they can only be reimagined through your values, and then through, obviously, with your communication. I want to ask you, Iskra, is there a time where you may have felt guilt and shame or permission to be unavailable from your roles? And how did you handle that?
As a new mom, I felt so much guilt around, and it's not complaining, right? It's asking for help.
Let's hurdle on that for a second, though, because even that, right? Let's just talk about that reframe. Okay. It's not complaining, it's asking for help. Why is it that we think that we have to be martyrs? How did you get from that understanding, from complaining, from recognizing I'm not complaining?
I have to have self-care tools. And one of my major self-care tools is gratitude. So I know if I start to think I'm complaining about something, I can immediately switch that and go, but I'm not, because I am grateful for all of these things in my life, and especially being able to be a mother.
When you feel guilt and shame, you move to a new statement of, I made that decision because. What I mean by that is, Iskra, right? I feel guilt and shame. I didn't put my son to bed tonight. Instead, what you're going to say is, I made the choice, the decision not to put my son to bed tonight because I was doing a Zoom UK shoot and they could only do it at 7 p.m. Austin time.
It's powerful. I remember a recent conversation I had with my partner, and actually it was when we were taking down the holiday decorations, and it was 8 p.m. and I was scurrying around. He was sat on the sofa, all chilled and relaxed, and looked at me and he goes, "Why do you have to do that now?" And I was like, "Do you think I want to be doing this right now? I would love to be sat on the sofa, just like you, watching your ESPN."
Right, exactly.
But it wouldn't get done.
Why we're talking here about the permission to be unavailable is because of how we value our own time. I was hearing from women all over the country, and actually in 17 countries. I would hear things like, well, my partner makes more money than me. My job is more flexible. I am a better multitasker. I require differently for care. In the time it takes me to tell him, her, they what to do, I should do it myself. If you've ever said any of those things to you, what I'm here to tell you is all of those are wrong. They are not true. And they're what I call toxic time messages. As a society, Iskra, right, we treat and we value and we view men's time as if it's finite, like diamonds. And we view and treat and value women's time as if it's infinite, like sand. And so for me to get over burnout, one of the steps I took was this idea of saying, I deserve a permission to be unavailable. And so the two things I did, first, I addressed the time barrier. So here to say to all of you, your time is diamonds. That's why I said, thank you for spending your diamond time with us today. The next thing I will say was that because I didn't believe in my own time choice, it took me a while to be able to verbalize and say to Seth, and I deserve as much time choice over how I use my day as you do. And so that was the deeper values conversation we had over valuing each other's time.
Sometimes I just need to vocalize that I'm struggling, or that I feel alone, or that I feel overwhelmed or frustrated, and just I need help. Like, hey, I'm here. Like you said, I'm doing the invisible work. I'm trying really hard. I can't cope with it all. I need some help.
What we found is that, well, for people who are in the fair play system, there's actually just three things that we all have to do. So number one, recognize our vulnerabilities. Often they're feedback in the moment. Yeah. Number two, recognize communications of practice. Number three, start with your why. Tell the people around you your stories. So what I mean by that is tell that story about the coffee, that it's about your values and connection, not about the fact that get off me and stop, complaining that I get coffee. I'm here to tell you, I get my coffee because it's the one piece of connection to my mental health every day. It's my ritual. That's why I invest $10 in it. That's what I mean by starting with your why. So that's what we'll end on, those three communication steps. And I'd love to open it up for questions.
I want to start off with one that Paula just posed to the group. How many of us multitask during this workshop? And what's the most absurd task you did?
I'm multitasking, drinking my Activia.
If it's good multitasking, we're okay with it. As long as we recognize multitasking is not a superpower. It is not something to brag about. It is the betrayal of society of women. This male neuroscientist who I went to with pen and paper before COVID and said, are women better multitaskers? And he said, well, no, of course, there's no gendered difference in the brain for how we multitask. Multitasking is bad for everyone. And he was being obviously facetious and funny, but he said, well, us men have convinced you women that you're better at wiping asses and doing dishes. I'm not sure I want you to tell everybody that that's been false this whole time.
And that whole multitasking thing, that's so wired in us to think that that is a superpower, right? And that we're the glue of the family, we can hold everything together and we can do, and it's just so much. And to be like, I can't sometimes, or one of the phrases I use is not right now. I'm not capable of doing the 51,000 things. I want to do more because I know it benefit my career, but I just can't right now. Thank you, Eve. So many lessons today, so many moments of growth for me. And I think for everyone here that's live with you, it's been a real honor.
Thank you, everybody. Again, your time is diamonds. This is a lot to unpack, but I think the most important thing to remember is that we are all connected.